Hey guys, I decided to do a video for this blog instead of writing it out. Just want to try a little bit different approach. If you would, just go ahead and leave a comment below and let me know what you think. If you prefer the videos, you want some written ones, if I should do both from time to time, just give me some feedback on that one. What I want to talk to you about today is a conversation I've had a few times here in just the past week or so, and something that I've been able to have the opportunity to live out in my own life, and that is being prepared to be a witness everywhere you go. I was down in Texas in San Antonio, and then I was flying home, came through Dallas Fort Worth, and got laid over overnight. So they set me up at the hotel room. I get into the shuttle to go to the hotel, and I was the only one on the bus. So I started talking to the driver and asking him about his job and how he liked it, how long he's been doing it, and everything. Just striking up a real genuine conversation focused on him. And like normal, you know, when you focus on the other person, that makes them want to return the focus to you. It makes them interested in you. And so he asked me, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a pastor. And he goes, well, I would not have expected that, or something along those lines. And I told him, well, that's kind of the point. You know, the people I'm going after usually don't appreciate the polished suit and tie and everything like that. They want another real person who's struggled like them. And so I just got to share my faith with him, got to ask him about his faith, and found out he is a believer and he goes to church. I got to encourage him, and it was a really great 10 or 15 minute ride that could have otherwise just been spent in awkward silence if we followed the way the world goes now. In 1 Peter chapter 5, no. Chapter 3, verse 15. But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and always be ready to give a defense to everyone who asks you a reason for the hope that is in you, with meekness and fear. Now, meekness and fear doesn't mean we need to be all mousy and scared about it. Meekness is power under control. By being meek, we're standing in the presence of power, but we don't need to show it off. We don't need to be flamboyant about it. We just be humble about the strength that God has given us. And it says, always be ready to give a defense. And that defense doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be under attack or in a trial like so many of the apostles were in the book of Acts. It just means that just like me with that bus driver, I was ready to share with him the way that God has worked in my life and the reason why I have the hope that I do. Later that night, in the restaurant in the hotel lobby, I was sitting there and had one guy sitting next to me, and again, I was asking him about his job and everything like that. He then asked me what I do, and he'd been cussing the whole time. It was kind of funny, but he asked me what I do, and I told him, well, I'm a pastor. That was the last time I heard him cuss that night. But it sparked up another really good conversation where I got to share why I believe the way that I believe. It's in Matthew and Luke. I'm going to read you the account of it in Luke. It's Luke chapter 12, verse 4. And Jesus says, "And I say to you, my friends, do not be afraid of those who kill the body, and after that have no more that they can do. But I will show you whom you should fear. Fear him who after he is killed has power to cast into hell. Yes, I say to you, fear him. And that doesn't mean that that we need to be scared of God in the sense that we usually think of fear. The way I equate the fear of God is, if any of you have ever heard a male African lion roar, even if you're not out in the wild where they could get to you or somehow fell into their enclosure or whatever, just hearing that roar puts like a primordial fear in your heart. You feel true power, and because of that, you pay attention to your actions. And I think the same thing with God. When you speak to him, when he speaks to you, you feel that true power, and you humble yourself before it. Another way I see the fear of God is, if you have a good father, like I did, I was afraid of disappointing you. Now, sure, there were times growing up I was afraid of his wrath as well when I messed up, as I so often did. But the biggest fear that I have now in a mature relationship with him is the fear of disappointing him. And I think that's another really good way to look at that as Christians is being afraid to disappoint God, our Father. It also says in Luke chapter 12, Jesus speaking still, he says, "Also I say to you, whoever confesses me before men, him the Son of Man also will confess before the angels of God. But he who denies me before men will be denied before the angels of God." So we need to be willing to always say, I'm a Christian. To always say, yes, I have faith in God. Yes, I love God. And not the typical American, well, I'm American, I was born in America, and there's a church in my town, so yeah, I'm a Christian. That doesn't count. I'm talking about a real relationship with Jesus. Not religion, relationship. That's what I'm talking about here. And just to show you how important God sees us living a witness, and not being afraid to profess our allegiance to him, our love to him. We're going to go to the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verses 6 through 8. And it says, "And he said to me, 'It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give of the fountain of water of life freely to him who thirsts. He who overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son.'" And verse 8, "But the cowardly, unbelieving, abominable, murderers, sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death." So, Jesus saying, professing that love, God saying, if you partake of the freedom that I'm giving you, then you're going to have it abundantly. And I'm going to love you, and I'm going to be your God, and you're going to be my child. But then he says, all these abominable sinners are going to go to hell. But what did he top that list off in the sinners with? He started that list with the cowardly. That means the people who profess to be Christians, who say that they're Christians, but are too afraid to go out and live a witness, are too afraid to go out and share their faith with strangers, with their coworkers, with their family. That's the cowardly that he's talking about there. Remember, anyone who professes Jesus before man, Jesus will profess before the angels of God. And whoever denies him, Jesus will deny before the angels of God. You can say you're a Christian all you want, but unless you love him to the amount that you're not afraid to go out and share your faith with anybody that you have an opportunity to, you're not a true believer. You don't have a real relationship with him. And I said that wrong. It doesn't mean you're not a true believer, and it doesn't mean you don't have a relationship with him. What it does mean is you've allowed the fear of man to overcome the fear of God. And remember that first verse that I read, or the second verse that I read. Don't fear man. The worst thing that man can do to you is kill you. But if you have a true, right relationship with God, that's like an early promotion. You're going to heaven. They just did you a favor in the long run. So don't fear man, because that's the worst they can do to you. Instead, fear the one who can snatch your life away and send you to hell. And that banishment from heaven, that is the true death. When the Bible speaks about the wages of sin being death, that's the death it's talking about. You can sin a lot on this earth and live to a very old age, but you're going to go into eternity apart from God. And us as Christians, we need to have that weighing on our heart all the time, saying, feeling that we need to go and try and keep as many people as we can out of hell, out of that second death. That we need to have compassion enough for those who are lost to show them the way. The mission statement of Warrior Way Ministries is pillage hell, populate heaven. And that's exactly what every Christian should be consuming their time with, is finding those who are destined for hell and changing their route and pointing them towards heaven. So, with all that being said, I want to encourage you, I want to bless you, and just, again, go and make war. Thanks.